737 National Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Well, we've been talking all kinds of national issues today, world issues as well. Of course, Ukraine, Russia, that's always in the news as well. I want to focus right now on the great state of Tennessee and a couple of bills that we've actually been talking about here in the last couple of weeks. And State Rep Mike Sparks is joining us in studio, and District 49, Smyrna, Laverne, and Murfreesboro as well. Yep. Mike, always great to have you on. How are you?
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, so let's talk about the school bus age bill. And so basically what this is, and we talked about this before, where you want to lower the age of school bus drivers from the age of 25, you want to lower that to the age of 21.
21, yes, sir.
Now, did you find this when this came down the pike a while ago? Did you find this to be controversial? Because I didn't. I mean, it does seem to be a bit controversial.
Well, this happened after I think the guy's name is Jonathan, if I'm pronouncing right, Walker, who was responsible for the loss of 6 kids in Chattanooga. In my opinion, it's a knee-jerk reaction, and government is often known for this. If we have a tragic event, and all of a sudden lawmakers want to run bills and pass legislation. But 6 kids were killed. The guy shouldn't have been driving a school bus. He was 24, so the Department of Safety's idea to solve the problem is go to 25. We're the most restrictive in every state in the union. Dan, I can't make this stuff up. We're the most restrictive in the nation and the world, more restrictive than Russia, Cuba, and North Korea. I can't make this up. We talk about workforce development, lessening bureaucracy and regulation. This is a good bill that's gonna do that. Now, will it help 1%, 5%, 10%? I don't know, but I definitely know that it's gonna help.
So I remember that story out of Chattanooga, the 6 kids getting killed. And I would agree with you, actually, where he was, you said he was 24.
24.
So they raised it up to 25. But, I mean, previous to that accident, what was the age for bus drivers?
21. 21.
So had we seen a rash of 21-year-old bus drivers careening down the street?
No, this guy had numerous complaints on him and priors before that. Parents and even students complained on him. So the checks and balances obviously weren't in place. It disappoints me, the Department of Safety, I'm disappointed with them that they've actively working against this piece of legislation, going to lawmakers' offices working against it. I did talk to Commissioner Long, who I hope is familiar with this. And I just told him, I said, I don't think this is a hill you want to climb and fight against, because we're having a shortage of drivers. I mean, Fox 17 reported 72 bus route shortages last year, and they may carry 85 students. So that's 6,120 students, Dan, that may be at bus stops that parents are going to have to go get the kids, drive them to school. And everyone agrees it's a crisis. What disappoints me, the Department of Safety, is when the liaison called me, hey, we're can't support your bill. I said, well, what are you doing to help the crisis? It was just silence. And we have a lot of silos in government where this department's not talking to that department. And this is a good piece of legislation that can help. But I come up with this after meeting with school bus drivers and contractors. This wasn't just me coming up with this. I just knew it was a problem and started meeting with. In fact, I'm meeting with some at 11:30 today. If any bus drivers in this area want to meet, we're meeting at Smyrna Town Center. And just talk about some of the obstacles that they have, higher insurance costs, school buses. It's a monopoly, the manufacturer of school buses. That's where I like Musk and Trump. Maybe Musk could look into this. Get these buses are like $200,000 now.
Yeah.
Totally unsustainable. But anyways, there is a meeting at Smyrna Event Center 11:30.
What are the bus drivers by and large saying? I would be curious to know what bus drivers think of lowering that age from 25 down to 21.
Well, I had 2 testify. I had David Settles, who's a school bus driver. He's also on the Murfreesboro City School Board, and he's also president of NAACP. Not that it matters, but it was really interesting to have him come up and speak. And he spoke extremely articulately. I mean, he said something that really touched me. He says, "I'm the first face a child sees. I'm the last face a child sees. I can improve their day, or I can discourage their day." Then I had Isaiah Heineck, who's a school bus monitor because he can't drive, and said he reached out to me through Smyrna Mayor Mary Esther Reed, hadn't called me, and he said, I always wanted to drive a school bus ever since I was 6 years old. He come up and testified, but he can't drive under this till he's 25, and he testified very articulately, and there's not a lot of 21-year-olds, Dan, that's going to want to drive a school bus, or 22 or 23. But this younger generation, I don't think they have the work ethic that my generation had. But there is a void. Even if there's just 5 in my county, that's 5 routes that are solved.
Well, and here's the thing: is it's not about an age; it's about a maturity level. It is about, can they do the job? Are they stable? Are they going to be triggered by kids that are misbehaving? You can have somebody who's 26 years old and not have that maturity level. So I would agree with you that just an arbitrary number of 25 doesn't really tell you whether someone is going to be a good bus driver or not. Yes. So and by the way, the obvious is you can buy a gun and you can join the military, but you can't be a bus driver.
Yes, that's obviously in Tennessee, and that's the fault of the Department of Safety.
All right, so where are your fellow Republicans and Democrats on this?
Usually when you get to know folks, you can usually know who's supportive and who's not. Who's for lesser government, more efficient government, who wants big government. Not every Republican, in my opinion, is a true fiscal conservative.
You don't say.
I'm just saying. Lowell Russell, who I think the world of, he's a former state trooper who was in a horrific accident, almost lost his life. Lowell, I really thought Lowell would be against it because he, worked for the Department of Safety. He's strongly supportive, and he gave me a pie graph of the day. And my assistant, hopefully we can get them in the color copies. But he said, Sparks, it's not the young drivers having wrecks, it's the older ones that have wrecks. He said, I had one driver. He said, every year he always had some kind of a minor mishap. But the average age of a school bus driver, if I'm not mistaken, about 53. This will fill a gap, but I appreciate, I do have some folks that are very supportive. Todd Warner, I think William Lamberth, and Jeremy Faison and some others that are supportive.
What are the arguments? I'm going to ask you, what are the arguments against this? I'm curious. Yeah. What are the arguments that you've heard against it? It's
a knee-jerk reaction. The people in Chattanooga the Republicans don't want to support it because of the emotional element around what happened in Chattanooga.
7:45, real quick, time to check the roads on WTN. 5 Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather today, oh boy, today's fine, but tonight and overnight into Saturday, we've got a lot of problems. First of all, your weather today, a high of 77, windy, cloudy, but then tonight, as the evening wears on into the early morning hours, everything is on the table. We're talking about high winds. We're talking about hail, possible tornadoes as well. So you've got to be weather aware when you go to bed this evening. And by the way, that bad weather is going to last all the way through Saturday. We do finally get a break on Sunday. Your complete forecast is coming up on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. WTN State Rep Mike Sparks is joining us in studio. District 49, Smyrna, Laverne, and also Murfreesboro, talking about this move of yours to lower the lower the age of bus drivers from 25 down to 21. Yeah. And is there anything other than the knee-jerk reaction from when the horrible accident happened a couple of years ago in Chattanooga? But what are you hearing from the people locally who have an issue with this? Do they feel like the maturity level isn't there, or like what are their problems? Well,
that's what a lot of folks. I mean, my district, everybody's fine, and shout out to Clarissa Smith and Sidney DeMumbry and Phillips, who gave me direction on this, and Isaiah for test fine. Now, you're always going to have someone that thinks a 21-year-old isn't that mature, and some 21s aren't that mature, and some 50-year-olds aren't that mature, some 30-year-olds aren't that mature. But overwhelmingly, folks are supportive. Representative Robert Stevens, I believe, may have an amendment on this at 23 to try to pull in some votes. I'd rather get this thing passed at 23 than lose it at 21, but I think I have the votes even at 21.
Okay. And when does that vote happen, do you know?
It's coming up this week. It's either Monday or Thursday. Okay. I'm not sure.
Another bill that we talked about quite a bit here, actually, it was one of those 99 to 1 issues where 99% of the listeners agreed that it was a bad idea to allow these payday lenders to raise the interest rate that they could charge people that come into these payday lending places. And a lot of people say that that is predatory lending. I agree that it is. You're dealing with the people in our society who, in my opinion, are really trying. And that just, you go in and you have to borrow $1,000 and now you're going to owe, from 30 to 36% would be the new rate. Now you're having to pay an additional $360 on that $1,000. I mean, to me, it does sound like predatory lending.
Oh, it's predatory, all right. It's loan sharks. Let's legalize
loan sharking.
Yeah.
A lot of conservatives feel that way.
And we need, this is why I told Chris Davis, and I hope you don't mind me mention him, no one takes a stand anymore. Our ministers are silent. No pastor is going to talk about this Sunday morning. If there is a pastor, text me, tell me who it is, 525-3198. And it's just disappointing when you kind of see your country kind of going to hell. I don't know if that's one of the words you can't say, but is it?
It's too late.
Okay. But anyway, I mean, it's just sad, Dan. And that's what I appreciate about you and Matt and others who do take a stand, because y'all have a strong voice. Oh, I guarantee you there's many people that are pissed me talking to you right now about this. And I love Jack Johnson. This is Jack Johnson's bill. Representative Powers, it's his bill. But it's a bad bill. No constituent. Dan, here's what people need to realize. What constituent called Jack? What constituent called Representative Powers? And I love both these guys. But nobody called and said, hey, man, I got a problem with interest rates. I want to pay more money. This is what I like about Elon and Donald Trump. Let's get this relief off of people, because it is really bondage. And if you don't believe how bad this is, I went after a guy, Tennessee Title Pawn at Jackson Heights, made a video. If you type in Miss Helen predatory lending, and Fox 17 kind of helped me. They were trying to take this woman's car, take her car. They advertise it. Oh, here's a loan for 11%. And if you watch, I made a video about it, videoed him, and I said 11%. So I zoom in on the contract, it's 132%. He wouldn't budge. She got trapped in two loans. She had a sister in the car who was special needs, battling cancer. Her sister's now passed. She's in her 60s. And it's just tragic because people are just silent on this kind of stuff. And his goal, I used to be in the car business. I knew what his goal was, is to take the car and turn around and sell it for a huge profit. And these departments within state government, they're not doing anything about this, Dan. They're silent. They're just as complacent as Jack Johnson and Representative Powers are for running a bad piece of legislation.
So one of the things that they I forget who it was, but said that these payday lending places, they have a right to make money. Inflation is going up and all of these other things. But as I pointed out in a previous monologue, I am against this.
Thank you.
Is that these payday lending places, they're making hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. So to me, I mean, what do you think? Is this going to pass or not?
Sadly, probably yes, because they don't donate to me. They don't donate a nickel to me. They don't donate a nickel to my campaign. These groups. The powerful lobby. These are the most powerful lobbies in the state of Tennessee.
Who's that?
The payday loan industry. Okay. The whole thing, man. I mean, I can't believe people don't know about this, but they don't donate a nickel to me. And sadly, it'll pass, Dan, because who was it? Was it Edmund Burke that said, all that is necessary for evil to triumph evil is for good men to remain silent. And there's good men, my pastor, others, and they'll remain silent. And sadly, this will pass. And, I've got Nissan cutting back, Bridgestone laid off 700, Bargain Hut closed, Big Lots laying off. I mean, do people care about that? These people who are desperate, they lost their job. My wife touched on me, her cousin and her husband got laid off, or they're getting laid off next month. And a lot of people are desperate. They got to pay the electric bill. They're trying to pay maybe it's medicine, and they're going to go and they're going to get trapped and suckered. You're going to say, oh, this is 11%. Yeah, it's 11%. All right. It's 11% a month.
Yeah.
They're a piece of SHIT, in my opinion. And people need to take a stand. Thank you, Dan, for you taking a stand. And if you listeners, call 741-1100, call your lawmaker and say this is a bad piece of legislation. Don't vote on it.
When does that vote happen?
I believe it's either Monday or Thursday. Okay. It came through calendar rules. But I'm telling you, man, the silence today is deafening. But the one thing about 99.7, y'all do take on the issues. You do talk about it. And it does make a difference because if lawmakers, I guarantee you they're all calling right now, like Mike Sparks on Dan Man Show, and like you sent me that text the other day. Remember what you sent me?
I don't.
Can you use that word on the radio? Remember you said you could piss off everybody before a session.
No, we don't.
But my goal ain't to piss people off. My goal is just to stop this bad bill. Yeah. And what you ought to do, everybody that votes for this, you ought to just put it on your website. Here's who voted for it, who's voted against it. The 99% that's against it, the one guy that's for it, I bet he owns a title pawn business or payday loan industry.
And with that, 7:53, how can people find you on the socials? I know people are probably going to have some questions. Are you on the socials?
I'm under Michael Sparks, Michael Sparks on Facebook.
Okay, very good. Find him on Facebook, and always appreciate having you on. It is 7:53 on Nashville's Morning News.